At this time, all participants are on a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, to ask a question, press star 1 on your phone and record your name at the prompt. This call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. And I would now like to turn the call over to Chip Cameron. Sir, you may begin.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chip Cameron, and I want to welcome you to the public meeting on the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's draft environmental impact statement and proposed rule on waste confidence, and we'll try to keep the acronyms down. The two that you will hear today are NRC and EIS, and we're having a little bit of trouble with the webcast, and you can access the webcast by typing in the address, and I'm going to give it to you now, and we're continuing to try to fix the webcast so that you can just click on the link and get on. The address is http:// then 2 forward slashes, then video, video, .nrc.gov. And you'll be able to get into the webcast, and hopefully those of you who are on the phone have heard that. And it's my pleasure to serve as your facilitator for today's meeting, and I'm going to be assisted by Miriam Juckett, who's over here, and Miriam is with the Center for Nuclear Waste Regulatory Analysis in San Antonio, Texas, and she's going to be helping me with the meeting today. And in our roles as facilitators, we're going to try to help all of you in the room and on the phones to have a productive meeting today. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the meeting process so that you'll know what to expect today, and I'm going to talk about the objectives for the meeting, talk about the format for the meeting, some simple ground rules to allow us to have a constructive meeting today, and then I'm going to introduce the NRC staff who will be either presenting or answering questions today. In terms of the objective for the meeting, it's fairly simple. The NRC staff wants to listen to your comments and recommendations on the draft EIS and proposed rule. And the staff is then going to consider those comments as it prepares the final environmental impact statement on waste confidence. The NRC is also taking written comments, and I think the staff is going to tell you about how to submit written comments. And I just want to emphasize that the comments that you give today, either in person or on the phone, they're going to carry the same weight as written comments. Format is also simple. We're going to have 2 brief NRC presentations, and then we're going to start the formal comment period. We will have time, short period of time, to answer questions about the process for the environmental impact statement. Now, as you probably know, at this Rockville meeting, we not only have people in the audience who are going to give comments, but we have people who are on the phone who are going to be commenting also. And for those of you on the phone, as Anna, the operator, just told you, if you want to get in the queue to speak, just press star 1. And for those of you in the room and on the phones, I will be calling out the first 3 or 4 people who are going to be next to comment. So that will alert you to where you are in the lineup today. And when I call you out to either come up to the podium here or to address us by phone, just please introduce yourself and give your affiliation if affiliation is appropriate. And in terms of other ground rules, I would just ask that only one person speak at a time. We are taking a transcript of today's meeting, and we have Matt Miller over here, who's our stenographer. And one person at a time not only gives our full attention to whomever has the floor at the moment, but it also allows Matt to get what I call a clean transcript, so we know who's talking. And that transcript will be your record of the meeting. It will be NRC's record of the meeting. I'm also asking you to be brief so that we, in your comments, so that we get to all the people who are either here or on the phone who want to talk today. We will be staying until we hear from all of you. We're scheduled to go till 5 o'clock, and hopefully that will get all of you covered. But I'm going to ask you to follow a 3-minute round rule for your comments, and it can be 3 to 4 minutes. It's there's some leeway there. It's not going to be a strict 3 minutes, but I apologize in advance if I have to ask anybody to sum up or finish up so that we can go on to the next person today. Also note that the NRC staff is not going to be responding to anything that you say when you give your comment. They are going to be carefully listening, and they're going to be starting to keep track of what the comments are, and those comments or questions that you ask during your time for comment, those will be addressessed as the NRC prepares the final environmental impact statement, and you will be able to see how they answered your question or addressed your comment in that particular document. In terms of questions, generally, we do have a few minutes, probably about 10 to 15 at most, to answer questions to make sure that you know what the process is for this meeting today. Secondly, so that you are clear on what the process is for finalizing the environmental impact statement and proposed rule. And third, for answering any questions that you may have, any clarifications about the structure or organization of the environmental impact statement. So we'll be going on to you in the audience and on the phones for that short question period. And for those of you in the room, Miriam is going to be trying to cover people in the back part of the room who might have questions, and I'll do that up in the front. And I should say that, at least for those who are here in person in Rockville, and we've had an open house, an exhibit area over in the second White Flint building. We're going to have NRC staff over there throughout this meeting. If you have a substantive question, a question on the substance of anything that's in the environmental impact statement or the proposed rule, please go over and see those people and ask the question. We're also going to use that model when we're out at the regional meetings, which the staff will tell you about. None of the comments that were made, the discussions that were made at the open house today, or the questions that you might ask in person here, or anything that you ask over at the open house area during the meeting, those are not going to be considered formal comments. So that if you want to get that on the record, please submit that in writing or during your comment time today, and it will be on the record. Okay. I just would thank you all for being on the phone and in person here today, and what I'd like to do next is to introduce the NRC staff who are front and center here today, and I'm going to give you a biography on each of them so that you know about them and what their areas of expertise are. And after that, we're going to go to Keith McConnell, who is the director of the Waste Confidence Directorate here at the NRC, and to Andy Imboden, who is the branch chief for communications at the Waste Confidence Directorate. We're going to go to them for some comments. We'll do our short question and answer period, and then we're going to start with the formal comments. Before I go to the biographies of the NRC staff, I want to give a well-deserved thank you to T.R. Rowe and Susan Wittig, who have just done a marvelous job on all of the complicated logistical arrangements for all of these meetings and many other things for the Waste Confidence Directorate. In terms of biography, Dr. Keith McConnell is the director, as I mentioned, of the Waste Confidence Directorate. And Keith came to the NRC in 1986 as a geologist and project manager in our Office of Nuclear Materials Safety and Safeguards. And since that time, he's had various positions with commissioners for the NRC. For example, he was the technical assistant to former chairman Selman. He was the senior materials technical assistant to former chairman Meserve, and the technical assistant and the executive assistant to chairman Diaz. And Keith joined the senior executive service, the government management service, in 2004, and he was selected as the director of the Commission's Adjudicatory Technical Support Program that was in the Office of General Counsel. And prior to becoming the director of the Waste Confidence Directorate, Dr. McConnell served as the deputy director of the Decommissioning and Uranium Recovery Directorate in the Office of Federal, State Materials and Environmental Management Programs. In terms of educational background, he has a bachelor's degree in geology from Clemson University, a master's degree in geological sciences from the Virginia Polytechnic Institute, and a PhD in geological sciences from the University of South Carolina. And the deputy director of the Waste Confidence Directorate is Ms. Carrie Safford, who's right here. And Carrie came to the NRC as an attorney in the Materials Litigation and Enforcement Division in the Office of General Counsel. That was in 2008. And she has served as the Deputy Assistant General Counsel of the Materials Litigation Division. And prior to joining the NRC, Carrie served as the in-house regulatory counsel to the Morant Corporation as Energy Regulatory Counsel. Her educational background is a bachelor's in biology and geology from the University of Rochester, and a Juris Doctor, a JD, from the Pace University School of Law. Now we'll go to the branch chiefs in the Waste Confidence Directorate, and Andy Imboden, who's going to be talking to you in a minute, is the Chief of Communications Planning and Rulemaking in the Waste Confidence Directorate. He came to the NRC in 2004 and has increasing responsibility in terms of regulating nuclear reactors and nuclear materials. He served on the staff of the Executive Director for Operations, known as the EDO office, and then he had positions as technical assistants for former Chairman Yosko, policy advisor to Chairman Yosko, and more recently policy advisor to now Chairman Allison McFarland. And Andy has worked on several NRC rulemakings as a project manager and supervisor, and has a lot of experience in terms of being the project manager for the preparation of environmental impact statements for power reactor license renewals. And before Andy came to the commission, he was a consulting engineer specializing in compliance issues, both domestic compliance issues and international compliance issues. He has a degree, bachelor's degree in meteorology from Penn State University and a master's degree in environmental engineering from Clemson University. The next branch chief that I would like to introduce is Paul Mitchell. And Paul is right here with us. And Paul's branch is the Environmental Impact Statement branch. And I think that's fairly obvious what the Environmental Impact Statement branch does. And he came to NRC in 2005 as a hydrologist with the Uranium Recovery branch in Nuclear Materials Safety and Safeguard called NMSS. And since that time, he's also served in increasingly responsible positions with the agency. He was a senior project manager in our new reactors office, and that was supporting the development of environmental impact statements for the licensing of new reactors. And before he came to the commission, he had a long career, 17 years, as an environmental consultant on numerous projects ranging from site characterization, remediation, and technical litigation support. And prior to becoming the branch chief, he was the branch chief of materials decommissioning in the office, NRC Office of Federal State Materials Environmental Management Programs. He earned his BS in education from Temple University and an MS in hydrology from the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. So it wasn't, whenever I hear New Mexico, I always think of chemistry, okay? But this was hydrology. Okay, good. So that's Paul. And next we have Tim McCartan. And Tim is the Senior Advisor for Performance Assessment in Waste Confidence Directorate. He came to the NRC in 1981 and has worked, again, like all of the staff in Waste Confidence Directorate, increasingly responsible positions, mainly on performance assessment approaches and computational tools for the evaluation of geological disposal of high-level waste, and also on the national and international regulations for geologic disposal. So he's the technical lead here for developing the NRC's regulations for the geological disposal of high-level waste in 10 CFR Part 6063, and he's represented the NRC nationally and internationally on performance assessment principles. Tim got his bachelor's in physics from Xavier University and a master's in physics from Wayne State University. And finally, we're going to go to the main NRC attorney advising the Waste Confidence Directorate, and that's Tyson Campbell, who's right here. He's the lead counsel and for Waste Confidence. He's also acting Deputy Assistant General Counsel for Reactors and Materials Rulemaking in the Office of General Counsel. So he has some management responsibilities besides advising the Waste Confidence Directorate. Pete graduated from the University of Virginia in 2003, and that was with a bachelor's in physics. And then he went to the University of Virginia Law School, and he got his Juris Doctor, his JD, from UVA in 2006. He also spent time studying at the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom, studying international environmental law and human rights at the University of Nottingham. Tyson came to the Office of General Counsel here at NRC in the General Counsel's Honors Law program. And since that time, he's worked on many issues relating to nuclear waste regulation, low-level waste disposal at the West Valley site, and now waste confidence. And Tyson is a 2012 graduate of the NRC's Leadership Potential Program, where up-and-coming new NRC managers are groomed to take over management responsibilities. And I think that is the biography of everybody that we would like to hear. And are we ready, Keith, to hear from you? This is Keith McConnell.
Welcome, everybody, and good afternoon. As Chip indicated, I'm the director of the Waste Confidence Directorate here at the NRC. And on behalf of that directorate, I want to thank everyone, both on the phone and here today in the meeting room, for participating in the meeting. The purpose of the meeting today is to gather public comment on the draft generic environmental impact statement and proposed rule for continued storage of spent nuclear fuel after the operating life of a power reactor, or waste confidence rule for short. The draft generic environmental impact statement and proposed rule were both published on September 13th of this year for public comment, and they represent the culmination of the agency's activities to respond to the U.S. Court of Appeals from the District of Columbia's decision to vacate the 2010 version of the waste confidence rule. Given that the purpose of today's meeting is to gather public comment on these two documents, the NRC staff intends to limit its presentations to a very small portion of the meeting. Again, the idea is to maximize the opportunity for public comment on these two documents. I would note, as Chip has mentioned, that the technical staff from the NRC, who were responsible for writing most of the draft generic environmental impact statement, are available out in the open house area over to White Cliff North to respond to any specific questions or comments you might have. I do want to start off with a few general comments about our rulemaking process. Writing regulations is fundamental to what we do here at the NRC. Regulations are our vehicle for implementing national policy and standards, and they also are a mechanism for achieving NRC's goals, which is to maintain public health and safety and security and the protection of the environment. One of the most important parts of our rulemaking process is what's going on here today, which is providing the public with an opportunity to participate in that process and to provide their comments on the proposed rule. I'd also note that today's meeting and the 11 meetings that we have planned over the next month and a half represent just one aspect of our efforts to make the waste confidence rulemaking opening and transparent. We want to thank those of you who have participated in the past in our scoping meetings back last fall, and also those of you that have followed along during our public status calls that we held monthly. Our efforts have been improved by the public comments that we've received in the past, and we want to encourage you all to provide your comments either on the draft generic environmental impact statement or proposed rule, either at this meeting or at any of the other mechanisms that we have in place to receive comments. In addition, there are some specific areas within the proposed rule that the NRC commissioners have specifically asked for comment on. Your views on those specific issues, as well as your general comments, will help us improve the final generic environmental impact statement and rule, and will also serve to provide the commission with important insight as they undergo their deliberations when they get the final rule and final generic environmental impact statement sometime next year. So again, I want to welcome you here today and welcome your public comments. I encourage you to speak candidly and provide us with your insights. And with that, I'll turn it over to Andy and Bodie, who will talk briefly about the draft generic environmental impact statement and proposed rules.